In the last video, we spoke about the unlimited power of God and what it means to be unlimited. In this video, we will explain why the power of God is unlimited. Before we get into that, let's start with some analogies. What is the difference between light that is emitted by the sun versus the moon? The difference is that the sun is the source of its own sunlight, whereas the moon receives that light from a source other than itself. Therefore, the moon can sometimes be dark when it receives less or no sunlight. The sun, on the other hand, cannot be dark since it is the very source of its light. Similarly, a light bulb cannot be the true source of its light as it requires external sources like electricity. Therefore, a light bulb can be both bright when turned on and dark when turned off. Example 2. Fire, for instance, is the very source of its heat. Therefore, fire cannot be cooled. A heater, on the other hand, might be hot when turned on and cold when turned off, since it is not the source of its own heat. Example 3. Gold does not tarnish since it is the true source of its glitter. Fake gold, on the other hand, is not the true source of its glitter. It may glitter or it may not. Okay, so what do these examples suggest? They suggest the fact that being the source of a certain trait means you cannot have the opposite of that trait as well. That would be a contradiction. For example, the sun cannot be dark, fire cannot be cold, and pure gold cannot be tarnished. To be clear, the sun is not actually the source of its light in its true sense, since God is the one who gave it that light, so God is the actual source. If He wills, He can take this trait away from the sun. Similarly, fire is not the true source of heat, since God is the one who gave it that trait. The reason why we say the sun is the source of its light is because it is closer to being the source of light compared to the moon or the light bulb. Similarly, we say that the fire is the source of its heat since it is closer to being the source compared to a heater. Also, gold is closer to being the source of its glitter compared to fake gold. That is, these are relatively the sources of their traits and not in the true sense. Despite the fact that they're not the sources of their traits in the true sense, we can still see this fact apply to them just because they're closer to being the source compared to other beings. Okay, so how is this related to the power of God? God is the true source of His own power. What does that mean? It means He cannot have the opposite of that trait in Him as well. That is, He cannot have any level of weakness in Him. That would lead to a contradiction. Thus, He must have ultimate power. So let's get back to the original question. Why does God have ultimate power? The reason why is because He is the true source of His own power. He does not get His power from somewhere else, like we do. In the last video, we mentioned that humans have various levels of strengths and weaknesses. For example, I may be strong enough to carry a backpack, but I'm weak when it comes to carrying, say, a car. That's because we humans are not the true source of our power. The source of power is God, and He's the one who gives us various levels of power and weakness.